Good morning, and thank you all for joining us at our 6th annual New York State Westchester County Fatherhood Conference. And this conference is brought to you by more than 15 organizations. And our whole purpose and focus is to put a spotlight on the needs and interests of fathers. And we thank you for joining us. This presentation will run from 10 to 12. So again, I want to thank you for being a part of this presentation. I also want to acknowledge, I see Thabiti Boone is here, and Brother Boone is a former part of President Obama's Fatherhood Initiative. So I want to give a shout out to Brother Boone, and Mayor Andre Rainey from the city of Peekskill is joining us today. I also want to give a shout out to him and to all of you who are taking time from your schedule to be with us. We have, you'll hear from an exciting national figure, Dr. James Rodriguez. In a little bit, he will be introduced by Scott Leach, and we have a dynamic presentation from three resource people from our area. So I just want to, again, acknowledge and congratulate all of you for being a part of this conversation today. Fathers are important to the life fabric of our community, and we celebrate fathers, and really that's our purpose today. We are going to get started with our program. First, we're going to have greetings from the chair of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, Honorable Ben Borkins.
Hello, I am Ben Boykin, Chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators. I'm pleased to join you for the 6th Annual Fatherhood Conference, Responsible Fathers, Lifelines During COVID-19. This has been an unprecedented and challenging year for all of us in Westchester County. I'm proud that the Board of Legislators has not missed a meeting as we've continued to provide essential services to the people of Westchester County. This pandemic has laid bare the issues that are affecting people of color: food insecurity, healthcare issues, transportation issues, homelessness, medical issues, and economic insecurity for people of color. And it is up to us, the fathers, to step up and be the beacon of hope for our future generations. I want to let you know that the Board of Legislators is there to assist you with the other departments that have been part of this conference. So as always, it is up to us to help during this challenging time. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank Chairman Borkin and the Westchester County Board of Legislators. I want to thank our county exec, George Latimer, Commissioner of Social Services, Commissioner Kevin McGuire and his staff, his team. I want to thank our committee again for the efforts to pull us all together to talk about the needs and interests of our fathers. So I'm turning this portion of the program over to Barbara Andrews. Barbara is an administrator with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and she'll take us through this program. Barbara, let's get started.
Thank you, Frank. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see so many people out there in cyberspace, especially on such a beautiful fall day. My name is Barbara Andrews. I'm with the Administration for Children and Families, and that's ACF for short. ACF is a division of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. ACF is responsible for more than 60 programs, and the programs are designed to support the economic and social well-being of children, families, and communities. You may not have heard of ACF, but I am sure that you're familiar with our programs: Head Start, Early Head Start, TANF, Child Support. Don't worry, I'm not going to name all 60 programs. We also fund the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse at www.fatherhood.gov. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce Joyce A. Thomas, ACF's Regional Administrator in Region 2. Region 2 includes New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and 8 federally recognized Native American tribes. Throughout her career, Joyce has been a passionate advocate for children, fathers, and families. She has served as regional administrator in Chicago and in New York, as well as the acting director of ACF's Office of Regional Operations. Prior to joining ACF, Joyce was commissioner for the Department of Social Services in the state of Connecticut. I want you to know that Joyce has always been a great supporter of the New York Fathering Conference. So without further ado, I would like to turn the microphone over to Joyce A. Thomas. Joyce?
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you for that kind introduction. Thank you so much for all you do on behalf of children and families. And thank you for serving as ACF's representative to the Planning Committee. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 6th Annual New York Fathering Conference. It's hard to believe that it's been 6 years, and I'm really very pleased to say that I've been part of all 6 conferences. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge County Executive George Latimer, who opened this year's first session last month, Benjamin Boykin, Chair of Westchester County Board of Legislators, who you just heard from, Kevin McGuire, Commissioner of Westchester County Department of Social Services, and who I first met when we were both services commissioners, me in the state of Connecticut and he in the state of Maryland. Welcome and thank you to James Rodriguez, CEO and President of Fathers and Families Coalition of America. James is a leader in this area of responsible fatherhood, and I thank you, James, for our great work we've done together over the years. And I thank you for your particular focus on services in Puerto Rico. Let me thank Frank Williams, Executive Director of the White Plain Youth Bureau, able Chair of the Planning Committee, and dynamic supporter of fathers, grandpas, and families. I wish we all could be together in the same room, but as we know, that's not possible. 2020 has certainly been a different kind of year. One of the most challenging in my lifetime, and I imagine yours. We've been tested by an unprecedented health situation. We faced both old and new challenges to social justice and equity. So for this very different kind of year, it makes sense that we are having a very different kind of conference. The theme for this year's conference, Responsible Fatherhood Lifelines during COVID-19. It's appropriate. It's an appropriate thing, and one that you can look at in 2 ways, probably multiple ways, but especially in 2 ways. Lifelines are people or things that someone depends on, especially in a difficult situation. A lifeline is used for life-saving, especially to rescue someone in difficult waters. A lifeline can be hope, salvation, often rescue. Fathers who are connected with their children at all times can truly be lifelines. As regional administrator for one of the chief operating divisions within HHS, I know these are important topics, especially when we consider the physical, mental, social, and economic well-being of fathers, families, and communities. The topics we're addressing this year are vital lifelines during difficult times. Today, our featured topics around employment, childcare, and mental health. And within HHS ACF, we're working hard to ensure that families get what they need. ACF has provided millions and millions of dollars in CARES funding through critical programs of child care, Head Start, low-income heating assistance, child welfare, and the other programs that we have responsibility for. We've dispatched staff to assist with supporting and standing up COVID-19 testing sites and alternate care facilities when hospitals were overwhelmed. As regional administrator, I have raised key issues to our leadership from the Human Services Commissioners all across our region and those at the local level. And again, I want to thank Commissioner McGuire for his leadership and meeting with us to really help us identify those issues. Looking forward, Practitioners, elected officials, fathers, we have much work to do in rebuilding our community, our nation, and remaining safe. And I need your help. Working together, we can make things safe and we can help to rebuild our economy. I want to ask you for your support in two areas. COVID-19 vaccinations, this is a prevention strategy, and engage in the workforce to help Americans get back to work. Vaccines, as you know, the federal government is working full-time on safe COVID-19 vaccines. We're very close. We will have a vaccine very soon. I can't be specific about when, but it will be soon. When it becomes available, will you take it? Will your family, friends take it? I know there is hesitancy. However, we need to ensure that low-income Americans, diverse communities, communities of color, those which have been disproportionately impacted by this virus, that they have the opportunity and that they take advantage of the vaccine. Will you help me with outreach and will you help me with messaging? The second area is engaging and supporting workers to go back to work. Earlier this week, ACF, the Department of Labor, and Food and Nutrition Services joined in an effort to support workers headed back to work. We know we need the support and we need to align our programs. This is very important for fathers. We also know that childcare is a work support. And we also know that skills are necessary. So will you help me when it comes time for us to work together on this particular initiative? You'll be hearing from me on both of those areas. Fathers, you are so important to our goals, the goals for families, the goals for children, the goals for this nation. As a daughter, a grandmother, a wife, a mother, I know how important fathers are. I'm mindful as I tape this message that we do not yet know who will actually be the 46th president of the United States of America. What I do know is we must work together with all of our skills to meet the many needs of this nation. We are resilient people. Oh yes, we will bounce back. We are New Yorkers and we are Americans. I thank you so much for being at this conference and participating. Please stay safe, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Joyce. Tom, could you please review the housekeeping information for today and how people can ask questions?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So you're going to remain on mute, and you're going to have the ability to, when the speakers are speaking, if you have a question, you can send that question on the chat to me, and it says, Tom Kelly, send Q&A to the host. So that'll be the way for you to get your questions to the speakers. At the end of all, we're going to do speakers and then 5 minutes of Q&A, and we're going to do that 3 times. And then we're going to gather at the end, and we have a quick survey for you to fill out that will help us going forward, and just remind you of when the next event like this is in December. And yeah, Matt, is there anything else you could think of?
No, that's everything.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Matt. You've been so helpful throughout this entire process of getting us up to speed to do virtual conferences. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to turn the program over to Scott Leach. Scott Leach is with the New York City Department of Youth and Community Development. Take it away, Scott.
Thank you, Barbara. And I'm excited about today. This is a young gentleman that I've had the opportunity several times to introduce. I look up to him as a mentor, a big brother, a little brother because he's shorter than me, but a little big brother. And this is James Rodriguez, the Chief Executive Officer and President of Fathers Family Coalition of America. He's a great guy, does dynamite work, has a great organization that he does things. He has a 3-page bio that I'm not going to read, but he's a military guy. He and I spend hours on the phone just talking sometimes. I know I call him about one thing and we start going over tangents about many other things. And I love just to sit and talk with him. He's a brother in Christ with me. So we'll talk about that sometimes also. And I just want you all to know he's out there in Arizona pushing for us so that we can get this thing done over in Arizona. And I know that James is out there on the front line working those people. So without ado, I'm going to turn over to my big little brother, James Rodriguez.
Thank you, Scott. I text messaged you to be nice to me when you introduced me, so you probably don't have your cell phone. I want to say thank you to the city of White Plains, the county of Westchester, Frank Williams. I really appreciate you calling me and asking me. And want to thank all my colleagues. I didn't know that Tahiti Boone was going to be in there, so shout out to you, Miss Andrews, and there's some other people that I've seen. I also want to, before I get going, I was given latitude. You should never have given me that ability, Frank, to give me latitude. You should have kept me in a box. But I want to talk a little bit today about why Fathers and Families Coalition of America started. And is it really parenting lifelines during the pandemic? Because it's really before, during, and after. We all have a legacy that we can leave this world with. How we leave this world with, it's up to us. But our legacy impacts 7 generations. 7 generations we will impact in our lives. And you know, and I know that we may not see all 7 generations. So the generations before us and after us. So I will talk a little bit about that. And I also want to talk a little bit about the importance of father involvement. I'm going to just have a very short PowerPoint presentation on the impacts that fathers have in the lives of children and why it's essential that during this time of what I don't like call social distancing, let's just call it physical distancing, but we have to be socially interconnected for our children and our families. And of all times now, because when isolation increases, then depression also increases, as well as the sense of hopelessness. I want to give a shout out to our New York State affiliates, one of my good friends. We have affiliates all over the world. If you heard from the regional administrator, Joyce Thomas, she said work in Puerto Rico. Last week, we put a hybrid conference, which was kind of scary because everyone had masks on, and the only one without a mask was myself while I was teaching, but it went well, went safe. We opened a brand new office in Puerto Rico. Beautiful office right outside the University of Puerto Rico. And part of that is because of a vision that we started in Arizona of growing and helping out practitioners and organizations and those working with parents. And not only in the United States, we have affiliates in Australia, China, Beijing, Peking University in Beijing, China, 3 nations in Africa, actually 2 in the country of Nigeria. So I'm excited about that. United Kingdom, Italy, Bolivia in South America, a few in Jamaica, and a couple in Puerto Rico and throughout the US. But I do have some great colleagues in upstate New York, Utica, New York. The New York Rotarian Club started as one of our affiliates, Upstate New York Fatherhood Coalition. Schenectady, my good friend Walter Simpkins from Community Fathers Incorporated. And then in the Bronx, where I'm originally from, did I say the Bronx? I think I said the Bronx, that's poor English. But the Bronx, Sharon Baptist Head Start in St. Jumel Head Start program, and in Long Island. So we have a connection, I do, into New York. So with that, I want to share a little bit of PowerPoint, and then I'm going to kind of wrap it up in summation about, hopefully you can see it on your screen. But when we've been talking about working with fathers and families over the last, I'm going to date myself, in 1996, I wrote the first ever TANF-funded fatherhood program in the state of Arizona where I live. I just come off active duty, military. And the reason why I came off active duty, I was a father of 2 children. I'm still the father of them, my son Antonio, my daughter Amber. They were 2.5 and 1.5 years old. And one day I came home and their mom, my wife at the time, was just gone. I went on a temporary duty assignment, came back, and it was just me and my 2 children. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any family near me. I didn't have any, I had the military. I had money. I had base housing. But other than that, I was socially disconnected from the support that a lot of you give to families. And I didn't even really know what I needed to do. I overcompensated as a father. In fact, I remember one time, Amber, she was a little girl, and I bought pink soap, pink toilet paper, fragrance, all that. And I didn't know what I was doing, what I was actually causing to have a problem and gave with her. And all that stuff, I felt lost as a young father because I was very, very young. And even though I was in the military and a sergeant and I had responsibilities, I didn't know what to do. But I came at a nexus and I had orders to go overseas, but the state of Arizona law was you couldn't go overseas without permission of the parent, the other parent. And we didn't know where the other parent was at. And so I had to leave active duty to go into the reserves, active reserves. And my first job was at a Head Start program. And Head Start, I thought was going to be easy. I was almost finished with my master's in social work at that time. And I said, how hard could it be to work with children and families? And I quickly learned it's a challenge. And in this growth opportunity, because of leaders who said, I'll let you have your vision. And like Frank giving me latitude, Dr. Sherry P. Ulmer, my first civilian CEO president, probably one of the greatest people who I've ever met, said, James, you can go ahead and write for these grants. And sure enough, I wrote a statewide TANF fatherhood grant, $1 million, a statewide young mothers grant, $1 million, a $6 million job economic mobility grant, a federal grant from Department of ETA. And I'll talk about why it was important for us to bring in economic mobility. But the problem was we didn't do a great job of touching the heart of a father. So you can go ahead and provide childcare. You can provide all the training, academic training, life skills training, trade work training. But when you lose the heart of a father, he will either walk away or not feel like you're connected, or I use a word called interconnected. So now is an opportunity for us to be interconnected with our parents in spite of COVID-19. And also, it highlights the fact now that we're very aware of disparities or disproportionalities in health and education, criminal justice. I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock not to realize the social justice and inequity in America right now. So now is a great opportunity for us to rise up, no pun intended, because I live in Phoenix, but we need to rise up out of the ashes like the Phoenix bird and create something new. And so on this PowerPoint, I give it to you, it's me a few years ago when they said that, hey, you got 9 to 10 months to live. And I said, nah, on the last day of my chemo, I remember I took that picture right before I was teaching a class at Arizona State University because I was a professor in the School of Social Work. So if we limit our vision, then we limit the vision of our families, our communities, and we can't build healthy families. But if we take our vision and we create something that's called Envision, which is the power of our vision, we could do more. But it also starts with some knowledge and understanding the impacts that fathers and children have. And there on this slide, you know, I always think about what makes a good dad. A good dad is a dad that's always present, no matter what. It's not about buying things and you can be present, fathers, with your daughters. And I will say this, I believe, and this is just me, a father has the greatest impact on his daughter for a few reasons. He's mirroring the potential of her future relationships and also providing the strength and the nurturance, the bonding for her to be a strong woman. My daughter, Amber, and my other daughter, Jasmine, Amber said to me when she got her MSW, I said, you know, baby girl, I want you to consider taking over a position that I knew that she could do. And she said, no, Dad, you told me my destiny is in my hands. And see, that's what she put back on me, how we give that strength, we give that mirror. It's different because fathers provide a different impact for their children. On this PowerPoint slide, there's 20 different things, just a few things that fathers do every single day from before birth, because if a father's healthy with his child and the mother of his child before birth, that child will have a greater success, regardless of the relationship with mom. And if mom and dad can co-parent together, then they're actually working as a team. And so when we work with parents that are disconnected, or maybe because of COVID, when you co-parent or you work as a team, I just went to Puerto Rico, and I want to give this little analogy. I went on a boat, a kayak by myself on the south side of Puerto Rico, and it's a beach called Patillas. And in Patillas, the ocean is pretty smooth because it's in a cove. And there's a husband and a wife, and both of them are trying to paddle the kayak with the same oar going the same way. And then finally, the wife quits because they're just making a big circle. And I'm sitting in my boat and I'm kind of laughing because they weren't cooperating and they weren't collaborating and they weren't working as a team. And that's what happens with a lot of families. They just keep going like this or someone quits. And then when I rode up to them, I said, you do realize if one of you's on the left, one of you's on the right, you can get to the destiny that you want. And that your oar is just a piece, but you have to have faith in each other to do it. And she said, I'm jumping out the boat and joining you. And I said, no, you're not. I'm not going to drown. So I give you that as an example. Sometimes we'll look at the strengths that our fathers give in the development of their children. And this highlights it. By the time a child, most children right now are not raised in a home that we think both parents are married. It's just a fact. By the time a child is now in their adolescence years, if we don't keep fathers engaged, look, 20% will be out of their lives on a daily basis. And I want to also point out that it's a myth that Black fathers are not involved in the lives of their children. It's the contradiction. Actually, Black fathers are the most involved fathers because they provide great childcare and access when they're parenting with young children. But systems come into play later on when the child gets older. So we have to look at our systems and say, educators, when's the last time you involved fathers in the classroom? How come we don't have more male involvement in the classroom? And this is an opportunity for us to say, with COVID, I'll give you an example. My daughter has this thing, it's called Parent View. And I look on Parent View all the time because she wanted to spend some time with her mom. And her mom said, I don't have time to look at it. Well, if you don't have the time to see what your child is doing, my colleague Delia Richards did a study from the beginning of the pandemic. And I want you to think about this, fathers and mothers and grandparents. 70% of boys 12 to 7 went online, checked on the little box to go in their classroom, walked away and played video games. 70%. And the primary group that those boys are boys of color, which means they're creating a big gap that they could fall into and not be academically prepared to go to the next level. So fathers in childcare, in health and economic mobility play a critical role to make sure that their child is going and following through. And that's something that can be done regardless. I'm going to go ahead and skip into this. Other impacts that fathers have dramatically, and this is why I want us to stay connected. I know you're going to have some stuff on mental health today, which I think is critical. Children are reporting increased rates of suicide ideation. And if you look at the number one point on there, it's 69% of children who actually commit suicide come from fatherless homes. And if depression and suicide is growing, that means we have to take an opportunity for us to figure out that one word I said, interconnected. How can we grow and be interconnectedness? Because we know that our parents need it. It's just going to be different. How we work with families has to be different, more responsive, not reactive. We must become more responsive. And when you look at some of these other indicators, I don't need to read them all to you, but just think, when was the last time that you helped mentor someone? There's a young boy, Malik. Malik came to my house, knocked on my door. Sir, I'm cutting grass because my mom just lost her job. And I said, Malik, how old are you? And he said, 13. I said, Malik, I'll pay you. I don't need him to cut my backyard. I could do it myself. I'll pay you, but you come with your grades. Where's your father? I don't have a dad. That's Malik is just one of millions. I said, I'll tell you what, you come here with your grades, you come and cut my grass every other week. I'm gonna teach you how to plant some stuff. I'm gonna teach you some other skills. And his mother called me up and said, thank you for taking the time out. How many of us men have not taken a time out for Malik? Malik is just one of millions of boys who right now, and then I asked him, why are you coming to my home at 11 a.m. when you should be in school? And he has this big, beautiful smile. I mean, his cheeks are so big, and I'm only 5'10". This young boy's already 5'10", maybe about 200 pounds. I thought about if he gets any bigger, I may have him sign a contract when he goes into the NFL. And then he says to me, I don't have no one to talk to. So fathers, it's not just men that become hopeless. There's boys like Malik, and there's girls who don't have fathers in their lives. So now's a great opportunity, because we don't want Malik to grow up like this, feeling a sense of hopelessness and despair and knowing who he could talk to. And so part of the purpose of this conference, when you take this information, it's for you not to just say, well, thank you, that was some great information. It's for you to take it and apply it. Because how you guys are on your sixth annual conference, we're ending our 22nd annual conference is coming up. And I know that it's a challenge, a great challenge to put it together. But the biggest impact that someone can take from our time together is taking that information to go help a Jasmine, a Malik, yourself, or other fathers. And I appreciate that Scott said that he can call me, because we do talk about different things that have nothing to do with being a professional. But actually, it goes back to that word of being interconnected. So if you're going to have your fathers involved in the lives of your programmings, like the Youth Bureau, or maybe it's in ACF, you have to do more than just this right here. It's called pick up the phone. And it's called trying to be as connected as possible so that we can help decrease isolation and increase resiliency that the person already has within themselves. And I know that I've got a cousin who lives in apartment 9H on 104th in Columbus in Harlem on the west side. The only progress he has made is moved from 6H to 9H. And he has no job, and he's not connected to his children, and he feels lost. So I have to call on him sometimes, like Scott says he's my bigger brother. I have to call Vinny like I'm his bigger brother, and not to be harsh to him, but to elevate him so that he can feel inspired within himself, because we can't empower anyone, but we sure can show them where the light switch is. So I'm asking you, when you leave this conference, when you leave this time together, that you help someone find the light within them so they can grow and they have the opportunity, so that a Malik with his big, beautiful smile comes here all the time. When I went to Puerto Rico for a week, guess what? I trusted Malik enough to come take care of my dog, along with some other people. And when I gave him that $150 for doing the job well done, he just cried and wrapped his arms around me and said, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. So I'm asking you just to put a big smile on a boy named like Malik. And I thank you for your time. Thank you, Frank and Scott, for your lovely introduction. And what I'm praying for is that we all start to create a community of truth and a time for us to have inclusion, so we can use the lessons learned from COVID and eradicate all these disproportionalities, all these disparities that have that have really plagued our communities, especially communities of colors, for decades. And so now is a great opportunity for a new hope. Like where I live in Phoenix, we could come out the ashes and be like that mythical Phoenix bird and fly out with new wings. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, James. Dr. Rodriguez, it's always a privilege to listen to what you have to say. And I thank you for those remarks about the impact of fathers and the importance of resiliency. Do we have any questions for Dr. Rodriguez? I don't see anything in the chat box right now. Anything in the chat box, Matt or Tom?
Nope. I think that talk, Dr. Rodriguez, was amazing. I mean, it hit my heart several times. Can you address what the smallest incremental thing that the people here can do to kind of get in the game and help?
Well, I do have something like that. I believe that a lot of us look at like failures or fatalities, but they're not. They're just experiences. And there's no such thing as try. Try is a word that we use to mitigate when we're not getting what we want or desire. But how about we just start trying to build up something that we know that can work? When I saw the City of White Plains Youth Bureau's name, it triggered me back to when I was in the military volunteering for a program called New Turf. And it was run out of the Boys and Girls Club. And I think I was 22, 23 years old, and I was volunteering. And so we can volunteer and look at especially our young adults who've got so much passion, so much creativity, that I wonder how we can bridge them. And that might be the best thing. How can we bring in young adults to the table so that their vision, their leadership can grow? Because they're going to be our future leaders one way or the other. So I think that would be the biggest thing that I would look at, is how can we bring in young adults to maybe the 7th annual conference, like they're kind of leading and guiding, and you all are just sitting back saying, wow, that is an awesome program that they're putting on together. But that's just my thoughts.
Fantastic. And then another question is, you do so much great work that how do you give and give and give? How do you fill up your cup? And that might be a good question for a lot of the men and fathers here who are practitioners or just fathers. Like, how do you fill your battery?
Well, one of the first things I'm going to do when we're done, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to go cycle for 15 miles, come back and do a little workout, then go have dinner, lunch with my daughters. I think that fills me up. As well as, see, that's what I'm talking about, that personal care, having time for yourself. It's only an hour out of my day, an hour and a half out of my day. And yet it will refill me and regenerate me for what really is my purpose in life. My purpose in life is not what I do, it's who I am. What I do for a living cannot define me as who I am, because I've been a combat medic, I've been special forces, which was awesome. I've worked in different levels of professors, but those are just things that I've done. They're not who I am. So if I reinvest into who I am as a person, then I'm living my purpose. Otherwise, I'm living, what did Scott say, a 3-page bio? So that's what I think I need to do. That's just for me. If I was in New York right now, I'd probably take from the Bronx, I'd take the ferry, take my bike, take the ferry across and go into Manhattan, right up to Barbara Andrews' office or something like that. But I know she wouldn't be there, so why would I go there? So that's what I'm saying. I'd take some time for myself, do something fun. Or even this weekend, I asked my daughters, I said, hey, it's gonna snow up here. Let's go up north and go snow. And they said, we don't wanna go in the snow, but just the time together. And that's another thing too. reinvest in yourself and spend time with those whom you care and love with.
Fantastic. Yeah, I would ask you when you're going to write the book, but it seems like you don't have time to write the book. You're writing chapters as you go.
I wrote a book. It was called The Hole in My Soul. And it was because the state of New York took me away at 13 months. I didn't even know that I was in the child welfare system. And as I wrote it, I said, you know what? That's laminating on the past. And that's something that, let me just keep going forward. And so I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think we all got some tremendous novels that we're all writing with our lives.
Awesome. And one more quick question from the group is, do you have any suggestions regarding how men might find their Maliks and worked with them as you have worked with Malik?
You know, I don't know how I found Malik, but I think there's a couple of things. It's a technique, it's called grounding. When we're present, so we have the ability to hear and see. And it could be Malik. I think I'm going to try to bring up a picture of even this week. And when we start looking at not our failures, but our victories in life. And I'm going to scoot behind here and let you all see something that hopefully it comes up. If you see this, it's a little girl. And this little girl, it's a little puppy. If she was 5 years old, that's saying a lot. But this little girl was walking all by herself. She went through an area with canals, which are where the water flow is at, down a busy street. And I'm on the phone with my executive assistant, Alfie. And I said, what's this little girl doing here in the early morning? And what I did is I took time out to be present. I didn't just walk away from that situation. I told her she had to go home. This little girl could have been abducted, hurt, ran over. While I'm in my car, because I'm wise enough about boundaries, I followed her to go home. And that home looked chaotic. I could have done 2 or 3 things. I could have made a judgment. I could have called the police, or I could have had a conversation with the mom. And that's what I chose. Now, I think the little girl probably just kind of wandered off, or maybe even had a little moment and ran away. But that's what I'm talking about, being present. And when you see something, you can be present in a child's life. That little puppy was trying to drag her into the canal. If she went into the canal with that dog, she would have drowned if she was by herself. And that's what we could do. We can avoid that. And later on, I spoke with my daughter who has an MSW, and I asked Amber if she wouldn't mind, as a social worker, going over there and taking a little bit deeper. So that's what I'm also talking about, us being involved and not just saying, hey, that's not my problem. And that's the best way I can acknowledge. And that was from just this week.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rodriguez. I'm afraid we have to end this segment. I know we could go on for much, much longer. I apologize if some people are having difficulties with the chat box. Hopefully we'll get those rectified very quickly. So thanks again, Dr. Rodriguez. Thank you for those insights into personal care, self-care as well. It's very important for all of our fathers. Thanks again. Now I'd like to turn the program over to Donovan Beckford. Donovan Beckford is the Chief Executive Officer for WestCOP, the Westchester Community Opportunity Program Incorporated. Mr. Beckford, the microphone is yours.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Good morning, everybody. Those 2 presentations were very inspiring, and I just want to thank Ms. Thomas, Dr. Rodriguez for their participation. My role is very, very brief. I have the great privilege of introducing Mr. Nishan Halvey, who is working actually at my former employer. I work for the county, and I've, in some ways helped to develop the One-Stop Career Center, which is operated by the Workforce Development Board of Westchester and Putnam counties. And Mr. Alvey is working as the Business and Community Engagement Services representative which gives him the opportunity of going out in the community, meeting with businesses and matching career seekers and job seekers with good open positions. And of course, his resume tells the work that he's done with businesses before taking this position. I think he's an expert in that field. He's worked in government, he's worked with businesses, and currently he organizes job fairs and brings business together with qualified job seekers so that people can actually start their lives. And in this COVID time, he has continued to lead that effort. So it is my pleasure, Deshaun, to introduce you this now and turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Beckford, you forgot my most important job. I'm a father, stepfather, uncle, all of the above. Thanks for this opportunity to share some of the Career Center's overview of services this morning. I'm the liaison, like you said, for the business and community engagement team for Westchester Putnam Career Center Network. And I was asked to share with you some of the services that the county offers some of our customers. Myself, like you said, I've been in government my whole professional career and worked in my hometown, luckily, the city of Mount Vernon for most of it. I've been with the county for over 2 years now, working at the Career Center. I was always a resource for fathers in many capacities in my job, especially when it came to referring jobs and resources to promote job readiness. And I did this work before I was even getting paid for it. So now I can proudly say I love my job because I can get paid for what I do to help my people. Especially during this pandemic, we realized how we were not categorized as essential businesses. But as we started to transfer over to this virtual side of things, we were constantly told and reminded how essentially we really were. I have a few things jotted down so I can go over some of our frequently asked questions and probably would apply to some of the people on the line today. Who do we help? We help Westchester County job seekers, Westchester County businesses. I go throughout the city and county and promote some of the services to the businesses and the job seekers. We help the job seekers gain employment and assist them on a lot of, most of their job readiness tools. We can assist with financial aid for education and the training. We have a stipend up to $3,000, a one-time fee to put towards, for example, certifications, degree programs. Healthcare is highly recommended in these times, like barbering, cosmetology, security classes, construction trade classes. We partner with BOCES and Westchester Community College a lot, and also other educational facilities. We also have constant training every month for job seekers that I go throughout the city and county and promote. Everything is on our website, WestchesterPutnamOneStop.com. It's an amazing website. We have most of the services advertised on there, and we have a calendar of events and workshops that we offer from our staff and professionals in the community. We offer resume assistant workshops, computer skills, job search roundtables, interviewing workshops. We also have mock interviewing. A lot of times we have walk-ins and people either need help before they go to an interview or need to visit our career closet. If we don't have it, we have other partner career centers that we might find something to put together. Know your worth sessions, soft skill training, career change counseling, stress management. And that's during these times of mental health issues, this is a big thing that is very helpful. And we also encourage strengthening resume through volunteerism. Those who don't have what they need on the resume, we kind of partner with other professionals to get the customers sometimes volunteer to gain that experience. For the businesses, they can take advantage of a lot of the career and recruitment fairs, like Mr. Beckford was speaking of. We had a lot of success throughout the year. We actually started doing job fairs almost every month, and we collaborated and did some with the Department of Labor. We went from the county center to White Plains Library, Yonkers Library, And in our home in Mount Vernon, we have a beautiful facility there. And we had a room full of almost 25 businesses and over always 150 job seekers. And we did our tracking. It was very successful. The services on our website, you can set up a profile and they post their positions to most of the businesses. So we kind of like a free recruiter for them. Their positions are verified with our staff, and we make sure that we kind of meet their needs and find them a good match. We also have some CARE Act funding assistance that currently we have, it's on hold a little bit, but we still have it all advertised on our website for these incentives during this season. Where we're located in 4 different centers. I'm located in the Mount Vernon office, but we have Peekskill, Carmel, White Plains. Our resource centers are equipped with copiers, scanners, computer and internet access, and fax, etc. Everything we need to connect with that job. Services available and the process. First, you register with us on our WestchesterPutnamOneStop.com site and fill out an ES-100. All those who maybe were on unemployment at one time, your information probably would more than likely be in there already. So you would set up a profile and surf the site to see what services might benefit you. And we have professional career counseling, virtual one-on-ones, workshops. So you can sit with a professional career coach and they can set up a career planning session with you. Because our career center, we promote not just you getting a job, but we're trying to help you land that career and your dream job. We also have, we refer people that want to start their own business for to our SCORE program. It's a group of retired executives on hand to give you some legal advice and strategies and help you navigate your business plan. And we also have some programs for our youth as well, from the ages 17 to 29. And right now, there's a lot of promotion with the healthcare field. And we have even some cash incentives for the youth to participate in these programs. Right now, the very most popular thing is working remote. So during this pandemic, we had, for instance, ENT company contacted us and they had over 30 positions for 100% remote, and we kind of filled them instantly. People are ready, willing, and able right now. They don't want to come back out all the way, so that's in demand. And contact tracing positions that came up, and it kind of slowed down, and people were calling, waiting to get started. But now that the surge has went back up, that's been ongoing now. We still have a few more positions available for the contact tracing through the county Department of Health. And like I said, this website we have is amazing. And if you have anything that you might need that I didn't mention, it's always posted there, and it's all information is there on the site. And my number here at the Mount Vernon location is 914-813-6555. And for all of the other centers, the contact information is on the website. Again, that website is WestchesterPutnamOneStop.com. I will type that in just in case anybody didn't get that. But if anybody has any questions, I guess you will put it in the box. I can try my best to answer it. Thank you for the opportunity to present these services that we offer at the career centers.
Thank you so much for all that valuable information. I'm sure the people who are online today really appreciate knowing what services are available. And that causes me to ask a question. What would you say is the #1 service that people find useful?
Resume writing and workshops, the mock interviews, and our career closet.
And I'm sorry, Donovan?
No, go ahead, Barbara, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if there were any questions in the chat box.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Deshaun to talk a little bit about, some of I know the barbershop, the barbering, training program, and there's certain initiatives that are designed specifically for men, and fathers, but the career centers, how do you, I know from my own experience there that were a lot of guys who are avoiding going to work because they didn't want to pay their child support and things like that. How do you handle questions like those when they come up now, you know, when you have to deal with men?
A lot of them try to find careers that they don't have to really report, like you said, the barbering, or they want to do something on the side of it, off the books. But we kind of have in our workshops, life skill classes to kind of go over. We collaborate with some of the Strive program and facilitators and try to pull them to the side and kind of have a one-on-one with them. A lot of times I've been told by some of my coworkers, and we kind of take them outside too on a lot of instances. We have a lot of grassroots community here in Mount Vernon. I'm also familiar with a lot of them. So I have a lot of success with kind of getting to their personal issue, but everybody's case by case and everybody's different. We can't address all of that in one instance. So it's one-on-one, but that's a lot of that. You're correct with that.
Right, and just one more, Barbara, if you permit. I know that Judge Kathy Davison and the District Attorney's Office had these two parallel programs that really are working to ensure that fathers who have to pay these supports, that they're not pressured and, you know, be chased away. It is, you know, so I know the district, they meet every week. Barbara Lambros is the coordinator for that initiative, the reentry initiative there. And then Judge Davison has these youth initiatives for young men. And I know the One Stop has been connecting with that. Can you comment at all on how those, either of them or both of them are going as it relates to the career centers?
I haven't been involved with those programs, okay. But I know we have the career counselors. They have the more the one-on-ones with the customers. And I kind of come in and assist and connecting them with a business. But I would see that when I see someone get connected and I make that call and they don't show up, and then I speak to the career counselor and they'll tell me the backdrop that it was those issues. And sometimes I can get in the middle of it, and sometimes we just, you know, use that as part for data. And like you said.
Good, good. Thank you so much. Thanks, Barbara, for the opportunity to ask these questions.
Okay, if we have no more questions, I want to thank Donovan and I want to thank Nishan for that very important and educational information about the services that are available concerning employment in Westchester County. Thank you so much. Our next segment is about childcare, and it is my great privilege to introduce Nicole Mizzucci, who's the Director of Family and Employment Services at the Child Care Council of Westchester, Incorporated. Nicole's been there since 2002, and she works with the council to provide quality educational material, resources, and services for parents, because parents need information so they can be informed consumers when choosing quality care for their children. Nicole also assists employers by providing resources that can support them in their efforts to retain and recruit valuable employees. Another thing that Ms. Mizzucci does is to promote high quality and affordable childcare and education as a catalyst for family self-sufficiency. Ms. Mizzucci is an ardent supporter and advocate for children and families. And I think, in short, all you need to know is that she's passionate about her work. And if you need childcare in Westchester County, you want to consult with Nicole Mizzucci and the Child Care Council of Westchester County. Take it away, Nicole.
Hi, Barbara. Thank you so much for that introduction. So what an inspiring morning so far, wonderful speakers, so much information to share, and so insightful and everything for myself and I'm sure others. So, you know, childcare, you know, we've talked a bit about Lifeline of for fathers and parents, and childcare is one of those kind of components that fall into the lifeline. Not only can we help you find childcare, but we help you understand what's out there and what options there are. A lot of times when you think of childcare, many various things come to mind, but there's several different options out there, and I'm just going to go into some of them a little bit so you're aware of them. But there's family childcare homes, which are people who are regulated to do childcare in their home by New York State Office of Children and Family Services. They follow regulations, they have background checks done. But the key thing is during this pandemic is about 70 to 80% of family childcare providers remained open. Not all of them accepted new children, but the families they were working with, they remained open during this pandemic for the families who had to continue working or working remotely. So they were a great resource for families. There are also childcare centers, which is what most people think about when they think of childcare, which is in a non-residential building. The children are separated into age groups, infant, toddler, preschool. With the childcare centers during the pandemic, only about 50% of them remained open, which, you know, did put a burden onto the families who needed that service still going on, as childcare was essential. Another big issue is with school age programs. These are also regulated by the state. 75% of them are located in the school building, and they were providing before and after school care. When the schools went 100% remote, guess what? All the school age programs had to close down and they couldn't provide anything. And even starting this September, many of them were not allowed to go back into the schools because of the limitations of COVID, and have been trying to figure out different resources and ideas. But really it comes down to, before I get into that, the other thing that really happened was that most families started to rely on friends and family members to provide childcare during this pandemic, which is always something that is out there. Part of the issue is that, especially with school-age children, you don't have families, members don't know how to help support the remote learning that's needed. So the biggest thing that during COVID, there are so many things that came into families' play of what wasn't working for childcare. Their childcare programs suddenly closed, or there was no programs to use because they weren't accepting new children, concerned mostly about their child's health, being in a group setting. And then as New York started to reopen, going back to work, some people were a hybrid schedule, some people were 100 remote, all sorts of challenges that came into play. Concerns about your child's social and emotional growth as well. And then also, if you had school-age children, the childcare programs, also some of them were not, at least at the time that was needed, prepared to do remote learning 100% with the children. More of them are prepared at this point, but school-age children and this constant change in schedule, you're 100% remote or you're hybrid, and then the school closes down because there was a positive case in the school. It's very challenging for parents right now, for fathers, for mothers, in trying to balance this work-life balance where they're trying to work, provide schooling for their children, and also the financial constraints that come up to it as well. One of the biggest financial constraints is the cost of childcare. So before COVID, this was a major issue for families where they couldn't afford childcare because childcare in Westchester County is extremely expensive. That's part of where some programs like Head Start, Early Head Start are a great resource for families who fit the criteria to help them afford childcare. But during the pandemic too, is that many families, especially with school-age children, now have a childcare expense that they did not have before. So part of that resolution with that is finding resources. So we are your resource, and for all families, for all fathers. We can help with every aspect of childcare. We might not be able to say, the answer may be no, that doesn't exist, or no, you don't qualify for the services, but we know about all the services. There is public childcare subsidy. There is a childcare scholarship right now in effect for essential workers and all school personnel. You do have to meet some criteria, including an income criteria, but it will pay for childcare from now until the beginning of January, up to the New York State market rate. Also, some childcare programs themselves, if you're working with a childcare program, ask them if they have a scholarship. Ask them if they're flexible with the fees. Just to give you a sense of what you're dealing with public childcare subsidy, if you're a family of 3, you have to be making essentially below $43,000. For the childcare scholarship, you need to be making below $65,000. But also right now, there's a waiver with DSS for a higher income of childcare subsidy, where you could be making below $68,000. So these are the financial resources that are currently available to families right now. And that's a major factor for childcare. And when you're trying to figure out what to do and what you can afford, we can kind of help you map that out. Also, family childcare providers tend to be a little bit less expensive than childcare centers or school age programs, and can still accommodate what often parents are looking for. The other major factor during this pandemic is fathers and parents' concerns for the health and safety of their children during COVID-19. So there are regulations and there are procedures that childcare programs should be following, that even if you're in care now or you're looking for care at some point, you should consider looking into. They should have a staggered drop-off and pickups thing. They should be frequently washing or disinfecting, I should say, frequent touched areas, light switches, doorknobs on a regular basis, frequent hand washing, have a plan in place, ask them to have a copy of their plan in writing so you can see. They're also required to do daily health checks, which they were always required to do, but it's a little bit more stricter with the COVID component. So in addition to that, it's finding the childcare. So you may have a childcare program now. If you want to help paying for that, I would call us to see how we can help you with the payments for the childcare. Then also, if you're looking for childcare, we can also help with that. The unique thing about helping you find your childcare program through our service, which is free, is that we're unique to your needs, whether or not it's you need weekend care, rotating care, you need care near public transportation, you have a child with special needs. Our system allows us to be very specific to your individual family's needs. It's not just a list of everyone in Yonkers, which there's like 100 programs in Yonkers. It's not just a list of people in various different locations. It's a very unique service to you. So if nothing else, we want to remind you that we are here to help, and that we want to provide you with the best service that we can to help you with childcare. It's a difficult time right now with COVID, trying to balance everything. And childcare is just one of the major factors that is impacting families and fathers with their need to go back to work, trying to figure out how to go back to work. COVID has put a ton of financial restraints on families with the lack of income coming in, which is another huge burden. So that's what we can offer you. Thank you for the time to present and share this information. I know I went very quickly, but once again, we're here for a service. I put my name and contact information in the chat box for anyone who would like to reach out to me directly.
Thank you so much, Nicole. That was really important information. I found especially helpful the information you provided about health and safety, because I know that all parents are so concerned about those issues, especially during the time of COVID-19. And just so everyone knows, the contact information for all our presenters will be available in the chat box at the end of this meeting. Nicole, I'm not sure if there are any questions right now in the chat box, but I know I have a question that will get us started. I'm curious, during this time, during quote unquote normal times, what is the biggest concern that parents have? What is their most pressing question that they come to you about?
There's, it's actually two pressing questions that come to us equally as much. One is about the health and safety of their children going to childcare, how, you know, there's no assurance that COVID's not going to enter your childcare program. There's only policies and practices that the program should be following to help reduce the risk of that. You know, part of it was when COVID first started, if there was a single case in the childcare center, the entire center had to close down because they didn't know enough about it. Now they are more strategic where the children are kept in pods. So it's the same group of children going to the different locations with the same adults. So if there is a positive case, that pod of children have to be quarantined for 14 days versus the entire center, which impacts more families closing down. The second major factor is financial assistance. Financial assistance has always, affordability has always been an issue with childcare, especially in Westchester County. And now during this pandemic, it's even more of a factor for families. There's limited resources, you know, there's subsidy, there is the scholarship for essential workers and school personnel, and then there's some programs. But that has been one of the biggest factors. We opened up the CARES scholarship for essential workers and school personnel last week, I think on Thursday morning. We have already 400 applications. So for Westchester County alone, in New York State, it's thousands of applications. So that just speaks to how much there is a financial need. And I'll be honest, that you're limited and families are still struggling. And those families who have school-age children who didn't have a childcare expense or had a very little childcare expense because it went from $11 an hour for 2 hours at the end of the day, you know, for after school until you got home to work, to full-time care, which is closer to $200 to $300 a week. So it's a major challenge for families.
Thank you, Nicole. Any other questions?
I just want to thank Nicole too for that, you know, wonderful presentation. I just want to mention one other thing. I hope you don't mind, Nicole.
I don't, Donovan.
You know, we have two Head Start providers here in Westchester County. Westcop is one of them, and Family Services of Westchester serves the White Plains community. And we have openings for families who meet the federal poverty threshold, because so many people have lost their jobs, and if they've lost their jobs for 6 months or more, they would likely be eligible for these programs. So we want to put it out there that people should not shy away because of the cost so much. They should actually inquire. And what we do at our centers, we make referrals to other centers so that families will always have other options. Of course, you know, we're a member of the Child Care Council of Westchester, a very proud member and supporter. So we can always refer families to the child care. So we want that to go out to all our viewers and the people who are participating today, that they shouldn't fear that they, you know, wouldn't have access to childcare. Reach out to Westcop, go to our or the best way is to go to our website at westcop.org, and we're a part of a large network where we can help families to find, you know, the appropriate child. And we still have openings, so we'd be happy to you know, pick those up. But thanks so much, Nicole. I really appreciate your presentation.
Thank you, Donovan. It's nice to see you. So we actually, the Child Care Council, we refer to Donovan's programs, the Head Start programs, constantly through it. The child care specialists actually pre-screen every family who calls us to see if they're eligible for Head Start, Baby Steps Forward, subsidy, whatever way to help them find affordable childcare. So that's one of the unique components of contacting the Child Care Council, is you'll get that connection. And we do work very closely with WestCOP, that if the families go there and they're not eligible, they do refer them to us and vice versa. So we have a great partnership with that. You know, so thank you for adding that on, Donovan.
Right. I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention too that, you know, working with Commissioner McGuire, we were able to put together a program called Family Step Forward. And what it is attempting to do is to combine childcare with career and job preparation for the families. And it's a really new initiative. It's only a few weeks old, but it's an attempt at helping, you know, parents to prepare for and go back to work, while through the committee to work with the commissioner. These parents will have access, you know, to free childcare subsidies, which, you know, if you call, you'll find out more about them, either from us or from the Child Care Council.
It's really good information about the Head Start program that's available through WestCOP and the Family Services of Westchester. So thank you both. I see that, let's see, I thought there was something in the chat box, but I was mistaken.
Well, there's a question. Do fathers volunteer at daycare facilities? And if yes, how is that addressed? And must they take a COVID test?
Yeah, right now during COVID, they are not allowing for volunteers at this time in childcare programs, because it's only essential staff who can come in. So like if See It or an occupational therapist or physical therapist can come into the programs because they're essential, but any other non-essential components, staff or volunteers, they're not allowing in. So after COVID, which there will be an after, fathers can, each program is their own individual business. So you would have to talk to the programs themselves. It's called parent cooperative programs, where parents come in and actually volunteer and work in the classrooms. And there is background checks that are involved, and as well as, you know, well, COVID testing is not valid, but you do have to answer some personal questions to do that.
Okay, so there's things fathers can do to get them ready.
Yeah, so I have to, and you gave me an opportunity again just to mention this, that for the Head Start programs, we actually have our own fatherhood initiative. Some of them are actually on the line today listening to this presentation, some of the staff and some of the fathers, that we're trying much harder to engage fathers in the lives of their kids. The Family Step Forward program, although we anticipate that most of the parents would be mothers rather than fathers, we are making a big effort to incorporate the fathers into that Family Step Forward initiative, where we can help them become more self-sufficient.
And thank you, Donovan. And the other key thing is that fathers should be involved in their child's childcare. You should have a relationship with your child's caregiver, know what's going on a daily basis, have that communication, have that familiarity with the program. You are an essential part of your child's life, and childcare, they spend a lot of time in childcare. So you should be connected with that and kind of know what's going on.
Thank you both. And this is a good opportunity for me to mention something that might be very important for the families we serve, particularly if they do not file for their tax returns normally. I'll put the information in the chat box, but there's a deadline to request economic impact payments, and many non-filers have not received their economic impact payments. So if you're interested, please go to www.org irs.gov. And the deadline is November 21st at 3 p.m. So that's if you have not already, if you're working with fathers and parents who have not already received their economic stimulus impact and payment, and if they do not normally file tax returns. The deadline again, November 21st at 3 p.m. And follow the instructions from IRS, because as with anything else, there whenever money is involved, scammers are not far behind. So please only go through authorized channels to file for those economic impact payments.
Yeah, the IRS does not make phone calls.
IRS doesn't, Social Security doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good
so
point.
it's very important. So let me just turn things over now. I'm looking for Ernest McFadden. Are you on the line?
I saw Ernest earlier.
Yes, I saw him earlier also. I need to know if he's on the line now. Because
Barbara, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And
hello, Barbara, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
And
thank you, Barbara.
Let me just introduce you and say that Ernest McFadden is with the Westchester County Youth Bureau, where he is Director of Program Development. And he's going to introduce our next segment, a very important segment about mental health. Take it away, Ernest.
Thank you, Barbara. Some fantastic information we've been hearing today, and it's been a beautiful morning, and I'm not going to get in the way of our final presentation, but I will say I want to introduce Carrie Medley, who's in charge of family service to Westchester. And as everyone knows, these are some trying times for all of us, and certainly it pulls on our mental toughness. And so without further ado, Carrie, take it away.
Thank you, Ernest. And I did see your golf cap, so hopefully you're out there enjoying the beautiful weather. Can everybody hear me? Unfortunately, our Wi-Fi here in the building is not great. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Where are we here? Can you guys see the PowerPoint? Okay. I want to run through this pretty quickly because I do want to have an opportunity. I have one of my colleagues and one of the fathers who's part of our group that's here, and I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to talk. But first, Ernest, I want to thank you and Barbara, our partners in city government, Dr. Rodriguez for a very inspiring keynote, and also Nicole and Nishan for the great information and the useful information that you've shared with us. And it's really a pleasure and an honor to join everybody this morning. So Family Ties, we are Westchester County's only independent family peer support organization. And so really what that means is that we come to this work as parents and caregivers first. All right, so a lot of professional experience amongst my staff, but it's really the role that we play as moms, as dads, as grandparents, aunts and uncles that really inform the work that we do. And we do that work through the lens of lived experience. And what lived experience means is that each of us in our own roles as caregivers, as family members, have had experiences, have been impacted by trauma, by behavioral health difficulties, and other challenges. And what we do is hire directly from the community, and we train and educate and support our staff so that they can in turn support other community members. So our goal really is to partner with families and to leverage the experience and our knowledge of the community and the community resources to make sure that caregivers, parents, moms, dads, fathers, that's who we're talking about today, have an opportunity to access the resources that they identify and that they feel are going to be most useful to their family. So I thank you so much for being here. You know, I think as everyone, as Dr. Rodriguez, as Chairman Boykin mentioned at the beginning, that this is, you know, the world has changed. And while we initially thought we were going to be talking about how to address our mental health and our emotional well-being during COVID, the pandemic, I do want to, you know, just acknowledge that there's so much else going on. That the stressors that we're all dealing with are really much more significant than just the pandemic. So we, you know, the acknowledgement of systemic racism and how the pandemic has impacted communities of color in a disproportionate way. The economic crisis that has ensued because of the pandemic, and the political unrest. And I did see a quick note by Donovan that it looks like Joe Biden has been named our next president, and Kamala Harris, and that's hopefully, crossing our fingers, but that's a pretty amazing thing, a woman of color as our vice president. So I'm absolutely thrilled. I want to acknowledge, you know, again, that we're all feeling these stressors, and that's, you know, that's a pretty powerful statement of what we're dealing with right now. And the important thing to realize is that we're not alone, and that dads out there, if you're on this call, you're not alone. These are stressors, these are conditions that are impacting all of us. So I will venture to say that most of us on these calls and in this panel have really experienced, if not one or two of these stress responses, likely all of them. And just, you know, I want to highlight, you know, this last one, this feeling of sadness or loss. One of my colleagues who's worked with kids and families for a long time happened to mention that what he's hearing from parents and from young people, from students, is just this overwhelming sense of loss. You know, the loss of loved ones, the loss of the opportunity to see our friends, to see our family members, extended family members, the opportunity to do things that 9 months ago just felt normal. So it's really, really important that we acknowledge that, and that we recognize that these are understandable responses given the situation that we're in right now. And I think, you know, there's a phrase that we use as social workers called name it to tame it, right? And so I think that what that means is that we have a sort of a silver lining opportunity right now, you know, and that is that we're talking about mental health. We're talking about emotional well-being in ways that just a few years ago we didn't talk about. Okay, there was such a stigma and a sense of there being a character defect if you acknowledge mental health challenges. And now, I was a swimmer in high school and college, and many of you will remember Michael Phelps, the Olympic gold medalist, and he's on TV talking about the impact of the mental health challenges that he's faced. You know, Power 95, Power 105, you know, my kids and I listen to that sometimes. There's a popular DJ, Charlemagne the God. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he spends a lot of time talking about his own mental health journey and what accessing services have been and supports have been for him. So I just want to point out there's an enormous array of behavioral health services in Westchester County, not only for adults, but for kids and families. So if you have questions or concerns, if anybody needs help navigating the behavioral health system, I would recommend, and our contact information is at the end, that to call us directly, because each of these services can be individualized in response to the needs of individual kids and families. But the important thing to remember is here in Westchester County, there's a shared sense of values and a shared sense of purpose that underlines the services that we provide. And there's a real commitment to family-driven care, to individualized care, where we're listening to the needs of the caregivers and the young people that are coming to us, and helping connect them to resources that make sense for them as individuals. We've talked about relationships and connectedness to others. And I will also say that the Westchester County behavioral health system is rich in many ways, but also small in the sense that most of us know each other, and there are really strong relationships across agencies and across programs, and a real sense of connectedness and commitment to families. And lastly, there's a very, very strong commitment to racial equity here in Westchester County, particularly within the service provider system. And that's a really important work, a part of the work that we do. So again, please, for specifics, definitely reach out to us, and we're more than happy to connect family members and fathers to specific services. So Family Ties, we're not clinicians. The work that we do is therapeutic, but it is not therapy. And so we really look at mental health and mental health challenges on a continuum. And I think it's really important to recognize that, you know, on the one hand, what can be seen as an illness and can be seen as a challenge is also very often survival mechanisms, right? And an adaptive response, an appropriate response to what's happening around us. So when we think of, you know, these stress responses, of course we're stressed. If you think of the loss, if you think of the challenges that we're facing, many of these responses are completely understandable and appropriate given the situation that we're under right now. And so for us, the key is connecting family members to specific resources when needed, but more importantly, really building up people's natural resilience. And I think Dr. Rodriguez talked about resilience, and again, I really appreciate him bringing that out. Because resilience is about bouncing back. We're always going to have difficult experiences in our lives, but these opportunities, these challenges give us a chance for personal growth. And that's, you know, kind of what we try to hold on in a very strength-based way. So I'm not going to go into all of these different skills because we just really don't have the time. So I'll just use this as a little bit of a marketing announcement for the work that we do at Family Ties. And again, I just want to remind ourselves that when we practice these skills, when we develop these skills within ourselves, we're also modeling and enhancing those skills within our kids. And we're enhancing the well-being of our children and of our family. And that's so important. I'm just thinking, you know, again, I mentioned the DJ at Power 105, Charlemagne the God. And I remember listening to him one morning as I was in the car with my daughter, and we were having a bit of an argument between the two of us. And he made a comment. He said, you know, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. And I thought, you know what? You're right. It's a simple comment. But the reality is, if I can stay calm when my daughter is upset and angry, if I can acknowledge my emotions, if I can share how I'm feeling as opposed to just acting it out, I'm creating that safe haven for my kids. I'm allowing them to develop their own skills, right? So the important thing about resilience and about supporting our own role as parents, and you know, certainly I'm a mom, but our role as fathers is remembering how important self-care is, right? The flight attendants tell us you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first. If we as family members, as caregivers, aren't taking care of ourselves, we don't have the gas we need in our tanks to be able to take care of our kids. So these are very simple ideas, very simple tips. I think the one that's resonates the most with me is taking a break from the news. I don't know how many of you guys were obsessively watching election results, but I know for me, I just had to turn the TV off. It was making me more anxious and more stressed out the longer I watched it. Taking care of our bodies, the body-mind connection is just huge. If we're not sleeping well, if we're not getting regular exercise, we're not going to feel good. We're not going to have the emotional stamina that we need to take care of our kids. And taking time to unwind is so important. And when we can do that with our children, it doesn't have to be, you know, the whole day. It doesn't have to be anything major. I think, again, Dr. Rodriguez talked about taking an hour in the morning to go for a hike and to do something he did. And it just gives us a chance to recharge and get ready for the challenges that being a parent faces. And I think finally, again, the idea of setting realistic goals and not beating ourselves up for the stuff that we don't get done. Okay, tomorrow will be another day. Finally, it's about connecting with other people and sharing the concerns that we have for our children, for ourselves, identifying those safe resources that are out there that can connect us and can heal us and ensure that we have access to the supports that we need. Finally, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jeffrey and to Mr. Phillips, who is one of the fathers in our group. The key takeaway for me and for what I want fathers and, you know, our family members to recognize is that the most important thing right now when we think about fatherhood and parenting is the idea of relationships, that our relationships matter. And the connections, particularly now when we're feeling so disconnected, the connections matter. And our families, our fathers, families are the center of individual and community healing, and that we have time, and that we all, it's important to remember that when we make mistakes with our kids, with our other family members, there's always an opportunity to come back around. There's always an opportunity to build on those relationships and to heal, not only as individuals, but as family members. And finally, don't be afraid to reach out for help. Support is out there if you're willing to ask for it. And that partnership is really what builds families and builds resilience. And we're here and we're stronger together. And I think that is kind of the message that we've been sharing across these different presentations. And I think I sped through that really quickly. I hope everybody can hear. I want to stop now and I want to turn it over to Jeffrey Ash, who is a key member of the Family Ties family. Jeffrey has been the lone father on our staff and has been holding down our fathering program here at Family Ties. He works in our Yonkers community, and Jeffrey has one of our dads from our group here. This is Mr. Gershon Phillip, and they're going to share a little bit more information about some of the work that they're doing in partnership. And we want to welcome other fathers that are out there if they're interested in participating. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Jeffrey and he can close out our portion of the presentation. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank you, everybody. Like Carrie said, my name is Jeffrey Ash. I work in the Yonkers office here in Yonkers, and I've been running my father's group for the last 5 to 6 years. I realized when I'm with Family Ties that, you know, dad needs a platform to talk, to express herself, you know, to get the help that they need. And I thank to Dr. Rodriguez for his presentation, because I got a lot out of it. And Mr. Philip here himself got a lot out of it. You know, I try to talk to my dads on a weekly basis to try to help them with family court issues, whatever kind of issues that they have, because most of my dads have mental issues. So, you know, I give them all the support that they need. I advocate for them on a regular basis. I make phone calls. I go with them to the family court meetings that they have. If they need me to do anything and speak up on their behalf, I do that for them. And I felt that it was important that we had the support for the dads so they could come out and speak and let me know what they need, what's going on in their lives. Because a lot of the dads, you know, for so many years, you know, we had this bad reputation of not doing things that we need to do for our family. But the dads that I have, I let them know that, you know, it's okay to take care of family. It's okay to take care of your kids. It's okay to love your kids, no matter what your circumstances. You know, just be there for your kids. I know when I was growing up, my father wasn't in my life. Now I have 2 daughters. I'm there for them. You know, and I teach my dad, you know, you have to be there for your kids. You know, you get a better results when the dads are in the life of the kids. When there's two parents, there's a mom and there's a dad. There's always a good results. You know, a lot of things are not gonna happen, like Dr. Rodriguez's presentation was. You know, so, you know, my father's group is the third Wednesday of every month from 4 to 5:30. Right now it's from 4 to 5 because everything is virtual. You know, so, you know, we have the dads calling, and then you have like 4 or 5 dads calling now the third Wednesday of every month. And we talk about different issues. You know, we talk about our health. Because if we're not healthy, then we can't take care of families. We can't take care of ourselves. You know, so, you know, we try to do everything that we need to do for these dads and to give them all the information that they need and let them get them some support and just encourage the dads. You're doing a good job. You know, when I'm outside in the street and I see dads, you know, pushing the stroller with their kids, I always commend them and shake their hand and tell them, thank you for being a dad. You know, because, you know, dads need to know, and they need to get some encouragement to keep doing the right thing because the kids need help. You know, so, you know, my support group every third Wednesday of every month. You know, if anybody needs to make a referral to me, call me at my office in Yonkers. Is 914-964-2063, extension 201. And you want to make a referral to me. And I have dads like 18 years old and up that I talk to. They have kids. And I get a lot of referrals from the Department of Social Service and different agencies here in Westchester County. I call the dad and I invite them to come to my support group. You know, invite them to get involved. You know, ask them whatever it is that they need, let me know, and I'll be able to help them or connect them with the services in the community. I'll go with them to court, like I say, and do what I have to do to support these dads. You know, let them know, give them encouragement that it's good. Take care of your family, take care of your daughter, take care of your son. Get involved in their lives. Find out how they're doing. Just take them out for a couple minutes. You know, that's very important. You know, so I do that with the dads and I encourage them on a daily basis. Mr. Phillips is one of my dads that he's been, since I've been having a funds group, he's been coming to the group he hasn't missed anything. And he's very, very much a part of our family ties that we have, you know. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Phillips so he can let y'all know what's going on.
Hi, everyone. How y'all doing? I'm Gershon Phillip. I've been with Family Ties going on. My daughter is 9 years now. So since, I guess since she was probably about 2, I've been with Family Ties, getting counsel, getting guidance, how to be a proper father, how to be there for my daughter. And I will have to say it has been awesome. I have learned quite a lot of being a father, being a guidance to my daughter. My daughter she even better herself as being a father to her. So having Family Ties there to guide me, to show me things I need to learn, having Mr. Ash since my daughter was a baby, telling me the stress, what I have to deal with. It plays a lot. People would not realize it. But having a father there or somebody to teach you, to make you better being a father, it has shown me quite a lot. I even teach other fathers, other gentlemen who have been in the same position where I have been, learning from Mr. Ash, learning from Family Ties, getting all their support. It has been the most awesome information I've ever received in my life. My father was there. My father never even gave me that information. Tell me about being a father, yes, but that's not all to it. When you have somebody saying, okay, this is how you deal with this. This is how you help out, how you proceed, so you can help other people in the same situation. I have a lot of friends in the same situation, and some of them, I don't want to be a father, I want to give up on. No, don't ever give up on your kids, because you don't know. When you put your strength and you put that how you say, force as a father to be there for your kids, you will receive. You will always receive. Mr. Ash, Family Ties are always, and from 9 years now, I have no regret that where I've been. It's even talking about it right now, I'm getting chills, because that helped me out with my daughter so much. And being a father, I'm so proud to be a father. That's the most, I don't know for anybody else, but that's the most awesome thing in the world. And I always thank Family Ties every single day. Mr. Ash always call me how I'm doing. Not too long ago, we talked to other fathers, and it's like they encourage, how to say, the powerful message you get from other dads encouraging you, helping you to hear what, don't ever give up. Everything don't always go perfect, but make sure you're always there as a father. It's the most powerfulest message you can ever get. And I always appreciate the Family Ties, Mr. Ash, and everyone that talk here today. I even learned a lot from many of you all. I do appreciate you having the services to a lot of dads, whether it's mothers or fathers, because it goes either way. It's very powerful. You all continue doing it because we do need you. We do need your support. And it's awesome the job of all of you all doing. I thank God for having you all here. And I bless you all for having your services provided for us. And I do appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeffrey and Mr. Phillips. That's so awesome. I really appreciate you sharing your experiences. Any questions for us?
So Carrie, this is Donovan Beckford, and a really great presentation. I want to say thanks to Mr. Ash and Mr. Phillips too for joining you. I wanted to ask you a question that I asked one of the previous presenters about the judge's initiative to help fathers who are involved with the court system, whether or not you're involved with them with the Reentry Task Force at the District Attorney's Office and the project that Judge Davis is pursuing to help men in general, young men, be more responsible.
We have worked with Judge Davidson in the past. We are not formal partners in this particular initiative, but would certainly be more than happy to be. And likely I would assign Jeffrey to that. But definitely Jeffrey has worked with young men in the juvenile justice system for a long time. And many of the families that we partner with have juvenile justice, criminal justice involvement. And, you know, I think for us, it's really about elevating the voice of individuals with lived experience. And anytime we can make sure that fathers who've had this kind of experience in their lives, give them a platform, we really believe that systems transformation has to start with the people that are most impacted by the public policies that we put in place. So would love to take a more active role in that initiative, because I think we need to hear from our dads and we need to hear from our young men what some of the barriers they are facing when it comes to living up to their own goals for being the best parents that they can be. So
great. Thank you so much. I really appreciated the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Carrie, Waylon, Marley, and Jeffrey, Ash, and Gershon. We really appreciate you spending time with us today. And now I think as a result of all the presentations, I have come up with 3 R's that not the ABCs, not reading, writing, and arithmetic, but resilience, relationships, and reaching out. Not only reaching out to each other, but reaching out to those we serve to make sure that we get input from the fathers and the families. Very, very important messages. So again, I want to thank, beginning with our welcoming speakers, also our keynoter, Dr. James Rodriguez, our speakers on the topics of employment, childcare, and behavioral health. So that would be Nishan Halevi, Nicole Mizuchi, Dr. James Rodriguez, Kelly Waylon Megley, Jeffrey Ash, and Gershon Phillips. Thank you again for your willingness to share your time, your insights, and your expertise. We are stronger together, and thank you for that reminder, Kerry. I want to thank the Planning Committee. Some of them you've heard from today on camera, but I'm sure you must realize that a lot of work goes on both in front of the camera and behind the camera. Speaking of those behind the camera, I want to give a really sincere thank you to Matt Sprang and Tom Kelly. They have been so gracious and generous with sharing their expertise, and they've been very good teachers to all of us on the committee. I also want to think of them a bit as air traffic controllers, because they have kept very calm when things are going awry. So thank you so much, because the awryness has been invisible to most of you. I want to remind folks that there is contact information as well as additional information in the chat box. But most of all, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy Saturdays, out of your busy lives to join us today. I want to remind you that our third and last session for the 2020 New York Fathering Conference will be offered on Saturday, December 5th. And the three topics that will be highlighted that day are engaging fathers. You heard a little bit from Scott Leach when he introduced Dr. James Rodriguez. He will be speaking on that topic that day. We'll also have a segment on housing and housing support services. And then we're also going to hear from Grandpas United. So please join us for those three very important topics. Before we close out, we have, and I turn things over to Frank Williams, we have a brief survey. So if I could turn to Tom, please, who'll talk about the survey. And I can't hear you, Tom.
Sure. So yeah, we have there's a survey over in the chat box, and what the survey, it's very quick. There's 5 or 6 questions. Just check them off, and it helps us to formulate what we might all do together going forward. We are going to take advantage of the fact that when you get lemons like COVID, you can make lemonade, and it's possible to keep this thing that we're doing, this amazing power of the human spirit and fatherhood and community, it's possible to keep it going forward. And as you noticed, you didn't have to drive any place, most of you, to get on here. And so it's a tough situation, but some of it is good. And so if you could just fill out the survey, there's a thing on there, what would you like to see covered in the future? And it's very quick, so it really helps us out.
Thank you so much, Tom. And for those reminders, and really take Tom's words to heart. We really need your input to make these sessions more responsive to your needs.
And
Frank, I'd like...
Yeah, as we throw it to Frank, I was just reminded that you probably saw that this was recorded. So this amazing 2-hour block will be available for people who couldn't make it. So maybe Frank can address or somebody can address where people can find that recording if they want to pass it along to somebody.
Thank you, Tom. And now I'll turn things back to Frank Williams to close us out.
Before Frank? I do that, I would like to give my dear friend and brother Thabiti Boone, who is a national fatherhood figure, and he's been doing the work for such a long period of time. He is someone who's been closely engaged in fatherhood work throughout the nation and abroad, working with the NBA and President Obama. So if Brother Boone could just say just a few words, even if he just says hi, I would welcome his comments because he has been, like Dr. Rodriguez, engaged in this work for such a long period of time. So Brother Boone, any comments you'd like to weigh in this work that we're doing to change the trajectory of our children, youth, and families and our fathers?
Thabiti, please unmute.
Can we unmute Brother Boone?
Yep, trying. I think we might have it. Try unmuting now.
He's having some difficulty unmuting. So that's okay, Brother Boone. I'll just say, Thabiti Boone was involved and still involved nationally in President Obama's fatherhood cabinet, and he's been doing great work. And then he's been working with Allen Houston and the New York Knicks with Allen's foundation with fatherhood programs and all of that. So I just want to celebrate him and his work. But we bless you, Brother Boone, and we celebrate your work too in this work with fatherhood programs throughout our nation. So I just want to say that, and we hope to have him come back at some future date to just talk with us about his efforts, his work, and the initiatives with President Obama and the My Brother's Keepers initiative also. We've said a lot. I think we've got some substance today. We want to go down from this, and on December 5th, we will have Mayor Andrew Rainey, the mayor of Peekskill, who will be our keynote speaker as we close out our fatherhood conference for 2020. So, and if you want a copy of the video, just email me here at the White Plains Youth Bureau, and that's fwilliams@whiteplainsny.gov, and we'll make sure you get a copy of the video, or even the video, the conference we did with Reverend Dr. Franklin Richardson 2 weeks ago. Again, we thank Barbara for facilitating today's program. We thank all of you for being a part of this effort today. We want to celebrate life, and the weather is really nice outside. Go out and have some fun and enjoy your families. And we will see you on Saturday, December 5th. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Be well.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here.